Alright everyone, you probably saw the video the other day that went viral literally everywhere with regards to the Biden border crisis. In El Paso at the crossing there, a group of Texas guardsmen attempting to hold back a group of several hundred illegals from the border. They failed in attempting to do so, and the illegals there were removing the razor wire and pushing it aside and then basically just charged past them. An attempt was made, but they're not really allowed to stop them. And so all of these people are now illegally in the United States. Probably, I mean, if the guardsmen can't detain them, and the feds won't detain them or unable to do so, depending on the location, well, you know, there's several hundred more undocumented individuals in the United States. Literally undocumented. I mean, they're not going to get processed or anything like that. There's not the facilities. There's not enough capacity without the Remain in Mexico policy. And without enough diplomatic leverage over this nation of Mexico to even make that a thing anyway, even if you did reenact it, basically all hope is lost for the moment at the border. This is another reason why we need to re-elect Donald Trump. Perfect? No. On the border, much better? Absolutely fucking yes. This was not happening under Donald Trump. He actually would address the issue as an issue. It took Biden 3 years to admit there was a crisis at the southern border. Hell, there's becoming more of a crisis at the northern border. They're probably going to have to fucking militarize that. You go 30 minutes north of Burlington and you'll see a bunch of weird fortifications and shit instead of the chain link fence that exists right now. Good luck guarding that border, though, considering how large it is. In Mexico, you have a little bit of an advantage as far as the size and the shape of that border. The Great Lakes don't help either. Not many lakes in that particular mountainous and desert region. This is an unmitigated failure on the part of the Biden administration. There's no attempt being made. And that's the reason why no attempt is being made is because there's nothing that Joe Biden or his administration can really do that wouldn't fuck with elements of the Democratic Party's broad umbrella approach. So, if you softball it, and you don't at least address the fact that it's an issue, some of those left-leaning, semi-independent voters don't like you. Biden has looked at that and said, well, that's less important than having the far left aboard, because a lot of them are younger and they'll knock on doors and shit like that. And so I'm going to go, you know, far left on the issue. It's inexplicable, because even under the Obama administration, of which VP Joe was a part, of course, even then, at least they paid lip service to the necessity of guarding the border. You'll remember Obama in 2008, when queried about the issue, he sounded almost exactly the same as Trump. If you took a Trump speech on border issues and an Obama speech, and you presented them to the average person, they'd have to flip a coin. If you took one of Obama's 2008 remarks with regards to legal and illegal immigration and handed it to a liberal and said, well, did you see what Trump just said about illegal immigration? You'd say, oh my God, how ghastly and terrible. Then you say, well, it's actually a quote by Obama. Oh, I don't believe you. Cognitive dissonance would kick in and they'd have that like dazed look on their face and say, whoa, that's very interesting. It wouldn't change their mind, but it'd be amusing for anyway. They've done this before. They'll take like Hitler quotes and they'll say, well, you know, your favorite candidate just said this. Oh, I wholeheartedly agree with that. Oh, we need to restore the rights of the workers of the United States, and, you know, something like that, something vaguely modified. It sounds really good. It's very funny how people fall into partisan camps and they ignore broad ideology entirely, like they have no actual principles or something. This is Biden's mess, and voters are punishing him for this fact. Now you've got Ron DeSantis saying, well, we're going to have a problem too. Haiti is collapsing. We're sure that our southern shores are going to see an influx of individuals claiming asylum status. That's fine. You can come in. We'll send you to Martha's Vineyard. By the way, if DeSantis actually pulls that off, I just hope that he bottlenecks it enough so that it's more than like 70, 80 people. I hope it's more like 700, 800 people. Because that would... imagine the newsreels. Imagine the lack of reporting. Imagine the hilarious videos captured on smartphone that you would see of the white NIMBYists arming themselves up and sitting on their porch, nervously rocking back and forth, guarding their home front against the horde or something like that. I'd like to point out to all the northern NIMBYist liberals that are getting a little bit of diversity now, this is a regular occurrence down in southern Texas. It's a regular occurrence on the border in Arizona as well. they've had to deal with it for decades and decades, more or less. It depends on the administration's policies, but more it has to do with how effectively carried out they are. We've already got established laws with regards to border control, the immigration process, the process for seeking asylum. The legal side of it is very orderly. In fact, if anything, the legal immigration process is just too overburdensome and should be foreshortened and made easier, actually, made more simplistic, so that hopefully more people opt to legally immigrate, so that at the very least they're a documented individual, they're following the law, there's an impetus to do that. But right now, if you're poor and in a third world country, and you want to come to the United States, it makes more sense just to come across the goddamn border. You get your little stipend and you get your phone so that you can supposedly call border control to set up an interview, and then you just disappear. And certain southern governors will be more than happy to give you a bus ticket, so you don't even have to walk to New York City or something like that. You know, ride on Greyhound or something like that. Maybe even get flown in. And then Biden will gladly fly you all across the country to small town America as well, and settle you in what was a hotel or something like that. And then, you know, TikTokers will talk about how you can squat in abandoned buildings, and if you mildly rehab them, you can effectively claim them as your own property. By the way, this is true in some states. Squatting laws are all over the place in the United States. In some states, it's more renters' protection laws. Like here in Vermont, you got to be very careful with allowing someone to rent on your property because it's a difficult process to actually force them out. They gain legal rights. I don't know why they do. I would think if you stop paying the rent, you should get kicked out. But that's not exactly how it works. You have to go through a bunch of legalese, and so it can be expensive renting a property in the state. I wonder why there's a bit of a crisis with regards to affordable housing. I can't goddamn understand why there would be a birth of rentals commensurate with the number of people that want to rent. Why would there be a shortage? Oh, that's right, landlords have to charge a lot more because they have to be able to recoup their loss should something go wrong. And the Biden border crisis is absolutely the result of the Biden administration's policies. This was not happening under Donald Trump, and part of it was simply carrying out the law to the letter when Trump was president, which Biden is not doing. I side with the state of Texas and hope that the Supreme Court sides with them as well, saying simply in their decision, yes, the federal government has supremacy over international borders, but a state that has a state border that happens to be also an international border has a vested interest in guarding that physically. It has a vested interest in carrying out, as long as they're effectively carrying out the same laws from the federal level in the same way and simply compensating for the federal government's unwillingness or inability to carry through with that law that was deigned by Congress and signed by a previous president. Yeah, they're allowed to do that. They're allowed to do detentions and stuff and processing. That's what their decision should be. And they should call the Biden administration negligent in their findings as well. Well, yeah, the federal government's not doing its job. It's either incapable or it's unwilling. So, yeah, if the state wants to fill the same exact role, according to the same exact procedures, you're not violating anyone's constitutional rights because illegals don't have constitutional rights. They only have human rights. They have certain rights, but the Constitution doesn't broadly apply to them. They're illegally on your soil. Ergo, you can detain them, process them, etc. That's about all. Peace out.